Hi, and welcome to our very first installment of the Viceroy Vul'Umlomo Conversations on Culture. Now, culture is what to you? It's many things to different people. And that is why today this debate is going to be so exciting, because we get to involve the different voices, the experts that are here chatting to us, whether it's from a modernist, traditionalist, or from a cultural perspective. And I see in all her regalia, she's looking stunning. Dr. Bishop Jessica Bangeni. Ninjani kodwa ekhaya?
Siyaphila madlophuthu, siyaphila ndoda son of the soil. Kuhle. And thank you so much for having me here.
Good to see you. And when you talk about culture and how people have always maybe asked you, how do you define yourself under the banner of culture?
As the custodian of heritage, all the cultures and way before the hive of prestigious knowledge is within me. I live it, hence you see me regal, also embracing other traditions, other tribes in South Africa, where I'm wearing my Isindebele royalty, which is more embraced by the kings and queens, and Amabuto, AkwaZulu, uyayibona into lolo hlobo. Umbhaco, where I'm wearing my Xhosa traditional regalia, is Xhosa, which is made of it's embracing the Scottish that came to KwaXhosa, because our forefathers married the wives from England. So this crown, and this crown is actually coming from where we come from as Greeks, as from the great queens, Nefertiti's, Cleopatra, Queen Europa. I am carrying the whole world, the whole heritage. I am so pleased and honored to be part of these conversations.
Ubabumbuso Koza, good to see you. Good to see you. And as always, you carry with you that level of dignity that we always look out for. You are somebody who is also very present and very out there on social media spaces, and people love you, well-traveled. You know your story in this regard. But just as I said to Dr. Bishop, that from your side, understanding culture, what would you say? How would you define it?
I think we should start with a distinction between history, culture, heritage, traditions. When you look at history, the role of history, it documents, or it comes in as an intervention to record happenings. But later, people tend to canonize certain aspects of those happenings and say, oh, I'll make an example, Nzombane and Ngubane, the reason they cut their fingers as a culture. They had a quarrel with King Shaka at that time, and then they took his eyes out. And then later he said, may all the infants that are of Ngubane clan be cut off this particular finger, so that when I play with them, I would know that I've touched a Ngubane child. But the problem is that later we continue with those cultures instead of maybe safeguarding them. But that happening gave birth to what? A culture. So now, later, certain cultures can't be practiced because of the time, environment, and the metaphysics of those people who are living at that time. We safeguard these as our inheritance, and then on particular days, we wear these symbolically to those who came before us. We remember them, but now, you see, there is a difference between history, culture, and heritage, and traditions. Now, go straight to now, culture versus isiko versus usiko. Isiko is what resembles a particular nation. Oh, if they are about to do a ritual, definitely Mkombot is going to be there. Definitely the slaughtering of the cow. That's culture. We are all known of those particular aspects of it. But now we have family practices, traditions, usiko now. Usiko, again, is born from history, like I said. The reason we have Amanguni, Amadebe Nguni, Amalala Nguni. Amalala Nguni is those who, when they speak, they use uya instead of la. Wosayapa. This is why the Zulus says Bayete. It's because King Shaka, when he would prepare for his battles, he would go to a crowd and say, today, impi iyaphumia kwaSoshangana. And those who are receiving the message, they would say, Bayete, meaning balete, bring them. when I went to bayet. Later, Christians and others, they say bayet as in it's praise.
It's praise.
Only to find it means bring them.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, culture becomes the yeast of the nation and the structure of feeling, how you express how you feel according to the environment and those who came before you. But now the challenge, what do we take forward and what do we safeguard?
Almost preluding that
Yes.
is an aspect of that preservation, whether we have the capacity to, and on which side of the fence we sit.
Yes.
And Candace Dube, it's good to see you.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Oh, and let me give you an opportunity as a modernist. Let's start there, because I know there'll be a backlash on this side. How do you slip into this conversation given your stance?
I think everything is changing. We can't always carry everything. That's why we're carrying the core ethics. Still keep the truth, the respect, carry it. But even if you are not modernize that, you can modernize everything around it.
This is where now I think the different schools of thought bring us to where we are heading to. Now, traditionalists, you will know, people that preserve and upholding, preserve and making sure that nobody loses a sense of what culture is. Modernist is almost like saying, okay, we understand, but get on with the times, keep up. There's a lot of layers to it, and that's the beauty of the conversation. His Royal Highness, so good to see you. I mean, you carry a lot of weight of a society that looks at you as this traditionalist. You're somebody who, from a physical look, will be like, oh, he's a young man, But you firmly believe in that happened times gone by. How do you incorporate both of these modern to traditionalists right now?
Culture is something that is not rigid. Yes. It's not rigid, and I feel there's certain things that we need to go back to. We need to go back and do, and you see, setso the way se leng ka teng, bong jwa gago lotso la gago, it's a form of identification. You can't walk around without a particular identification. Who are you? Where are you going? Where do you come from? Every nation has its own way of doing things. Every human being has his own way of doing things. And I strongly believe we need to safeguard certain things about ourselves, because we'd end up being just people. And you can't just be a person. There must be, a sense of purpose. There must be a sense of being. You must be deeply rooted into something.
Well, as His Royal Highness was saying, and I'm going to bring it to you, Dr. Bishop, he was emphasizing that tradition must be protected, culture must be protected. So from your side, it brings up a completely different debate now of clarity. What is the difference between culture as well as that tradition?
Tradition is the indigenous knowledge systems that are conserved from the point of Ubabukhoza. The culture is preserved by the society. For the preservation of it, it's for cultural integrity.
You see, as a traditionalist, there is the important discussion to be had. That's one of the reasons why you have people like us that would be so rigid in terms of tradition, in terms of your convictions when it comes to traditional issues. It's because you want people to develop themselves based on who they are and how they identify themselves. And you must not have cosmetic unity, even false diversity. You say you are diverse, but you don't even understand how diverse you are. And why do you say you are even diverse in the first place? Because we are uniform. We are all white, we are all gray, we do things the same way, and there's just not that one unique thing about you. We haven't explored ourselves enough.
My interest, Candace, comes through when you say that the tradition is linked with the rituals. Yes. Do you go along with that, or is there a different school of thought from your side?
I do, because as a healer, there's certain, I love what Doctor said, because in Dabayoguti, there's the parts that nobody else sees. Because I'll give you an example. Tina mawuye ephehlweni, you're not allowed to speak about what happens there. In Fil, you are not allowed to speak about that. You come out, you will teach whatever you are teaching, you will heal ngendlela, but into eyenzakala lapho, so that's still the tradition part of it. Because you also find yourself where also ugobela, you're going to teach abakha abantwana bedlozi. Same thing. They're not allowed to speak about it outside. But the culture's there. We're exposed. Now we're talking to people. It's on social media. But there's parts that nobody gets to know or see.
So that's a sacred part.
Yes, that's a part that nobody's allowed to know what you went through.
Also, just cutting on the differences between the two. For you, what are the dangers? What are you witnessing? What is your sense of belief in that?
My issue is the epistemology, the method of knowing. The question is, yes, we go around and we say, this is my culture, but how do you know you are capable of knowing anything apart from what you've been fed when you were growing up? Yeah. Have you made time at some point and say, okay, this is what I've been taught, but this is the new knowledge that I'm acquiring now, a cultural knowledge? Because now we are falling on a danger of secrecy in the name of sacredness. The reason the strategists were few in the army is because they were protecting the danger of everyone having information on how to form an army. So now what is the reason of us being secretive with these traditions?
Forming the heritage, if you allow me to pick up on that, gender plays a big role, plays a role that can spike up your temperature, I'm sure, right? Yeah, so what have you felt there's been a misconception of in terms of dealing with the gender issue in the space?
Firstly, I feel like I'm so anti the whole father as the breadwinner, woman barefoot in the kitchen. And let's move with the times. Women are all trying to make money now. Everyone's trying to level up. Everyone wants to do their best. The women want to work hard. They want to build empires. The whole a man wakes up, goes to work, and you're sitting there and you're running house. I don't even want to marry a man who doesn't know how to cook.
You know, I wanted to chip in, especially on what you say. You see, when it comes to tradition and gender, there's been a lot of misconceptions, half-truths. Look, we end up finding ourselves in a situation where, you know, with these modern ideologies that are here, you find people saying African culture has never really catered for women, which is a lie. Our problem is that, you know, you want to address an issue of inequality using equality. It can't work. Forget about it. Now, traditionally, women have power. When someone says to me, nah, African culture has never catered for women, blah, 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 I tell them, go to your own family, look at the power that your Rakadi has. Let us start there, from a basic point, because you see, culture and tradition, at the basic level, that's where you can properly analyze it, where it directly affects you. Now, look at the power that your father's sister has in a family. That's when you get to see that African women have power. The only problem is the systems that were introduced later on. They gave us men an amount of power, and now, you know, to suppress one, to control people, you give one power and use him to suppress another. And then society becomes united, you know, divide and conquer. That's what happened. But the reality of the situation is that women have always had power.
Candice, I have observed a lot of marriages that have gone wrong within a short period of time because they didn't expect some chores and the responsibilities. I believe that before you get married, you get to know each other.
Definitely.
You get to know how is my family structure, how is my man's family structure. And honesty from the very word go. There's love at first sight, but you fall in love gradually and you feel there's something that you are, a role that you are going to play in this household, besides of being an 8 to 5 woman who's going to come back and also check izinto zakhe zendumba, ayo amathwasa and all that, ulale ngabo 11. You have a responsibility because you are getting married into this family.
Got a couple of tweets as well that have landed here. And there is one, that's why I said when you were talking about marriage, it's almost like you were in line with what Don Corleone, as tweet was saying, says that I wonder if polygamy was allowed back, then if so, why did we lose our culture and conform to the Western way of life? Where did we go wrong?
Polygamy was allowed back then, but for different reasons. There's this new system of marriage. Let me speak for nations that I know it happened to them. You had German missionaries who came with the Lutheran Church. Now, in order for them to assist you with 1, 2, or 3 things, you have to subscribe to their way of doing things. You have to lose your culture. They tell you take one wife. There are certain nations that even fought with these missionaries because they were saying, but traditionally, I take so many wives for these particular reasons. I marry into this nation, I marry into this clan, I marry into this tribe, because also marriage was I would say, diplomatic relations and cementing a relationship, sometimes even between 2 rival nations. To say, I can't kill my own son-in-law. Now you found these ones coming in and saying, no, lose everything that is yours, take one wife. And then people just started taking just one wife because it's a new norm now. And we thought it was just the normal way of doing things.
But what was the reason of marrying into that culture?
Let's say, for example, Ronabatlu, we are fighting with Bapiring. We reach a point where we're saying, but there's been too much bloodshed. And in order for us not to kill each other anymore, let us marry our children. Let that be, a sign to say, no, look, there's peace, we're family now. And then, you move to another family you had diplomatic relations with. You then marry into that, and also to strengthen. It was also a power move.
I'm worried about the facial expression there, Candace. It looks like you're not...
The whole arranged marriage also is polygamy. On the other hand, I know it's still there. People still practice it, not maybe as much as back then, but we all know it's still there. We're seeing it. I just also don't like the direction it goes into. Sometimes I'm anti it, for it also at the same time, but I'm still for monogamy. Let's just marry your person, find your person, marry them. Like Mama said, find your soulmates. You must find out soulmates. So now it's you're the soulmates, also you were all soulmates. But my only problem with arranged marriage is it's also, where's the attraction there?
Yeah.
I think I'm too much of a lover for me to be okay with somebody marrying me. That has nothing to do with me. Be adults and fix your problems. Why must now what if I like the guy who was a back opposite? So now I have to sacrifice that because you have to join your unit and stop fighting. Be adults, sit, have a meeting, and understand, okay, what are we doing? Why must I be the goat? The sacrifice. That's your sacrifice. Now I'm your goat in your disagreement with the neighbor, and I must marry the son.
Yeah. No, look, I was explaining the historical background as to why people marry into polygamy.
Definitely.
There's always a purpose of doing something. And you see, sometimes duty supersedes personal preference. If you're duty-bound to do something, you do it. And at some point, we all sacrifice one thing or another for the greater cause. So if it so happens that I have to marry let me make an example, kwaKhoza. Ngoba ubukhosi bakwaKhoza bunobudlelwane nobukhosi bakwaShole. And le ntokazi yakwaKhoza ngiyazi mina. Ngizofunda ukuyithanda. Ngoba it's not about me, but it is about the institution that I'm serving. And it's about duty. If I'm duty, but we're all duty bound to do certain things.
The institution that I am serving. But then how does the institution then serve you in return? Or is that not even...
What are you getting in return?
Yeah. You see, for example, I always tell people, the throne always outlives you. The throne is not rigid, it's static. and it always finds its right body. It moves from one body to another. Now, when you sit on the throne and you serve and you do whatever that you do, for he who is going to, or she who is going to be the incumbent when you depart. Now, you do everything that you do, not for you, not for the present, but for the future. You live in the future when you serve the institution. And that is my understanding and belief.
So you're emotionally dead in the present.
No, not necessarily.
Was
Not necessarily, but you know, you
submit.
When you submit, you
Submit.
get to fall in
Submit.
love
Yes.
with what you live. You get to fall in love with your reality, because your reality is not.
So it's a
like
process. It's not a natural
It's a process.
We're missing a point here. Polygamy isithembu kwakwenzeka uthola umama akabathola abantwana ahamba kubaba athi baba njengoba kwenzeka kanje, I think we should find a solution. But it was a woman who would say, however, I've identified a great woman who can take this place. Sometimes uthola ukuthi responsibilities are too much. Bramfontein yonke uthola ukuthi it belongs to one man. So you need to have, you know, people who can help at home. So this is why they had to get more wives. But at a later stage, abantu bakithi, expediency, they would do what they want that serves them. Bese bethi, hey, my forefathers, but I must get a second wife. But let us see a press conference then. When your forefathers were telling you that. So the problem with our cultures, we don't have proof. We always say, like in church, God said, but there is no proof. So with our culture, let us look at nature, the reaction of nature. Okay, it's winter now. Let's refrain from planting and respect. Oh, now umandulo siyandulelisa. Nature tells us what to do. It's not this thing you're going to welcome a message from wherever and whenever.
Yeah, no. I think our last tweet, really, it's from Gray Mabasa, who says, Tsonga as well as Venda people are often viewed at the bottom of the proverbial totem pole of South African cultures. And I'd like to know where this tribalistic animosity stems from and why those groups are frowned upon by other cultures. Yo, lighting the fire there.
Okay. All right. Can I take it?
Take it.
Can I
Take it, Doc.
All right.
Take it, it's yours.
I will start from coming from Central Africa, the movement of our great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers for greener pastures, the trading along the way. And when we started to trade with Portugal, they decided to patent us as Africans. And they had a plan, I think, with the Jewish from other side, that they are going to divide us through the borders in Nangamendu, because others would move to go and look for greener pastures and find a place for women and make assessments, like a feasibility study of some sort. And those who would be left in certain places, when we come back, there would be wars that are instigated amongst us. Hence, we are brothers and sisters. We are coming from the huge royal house, which is one royal house yabantu. So, but it's these borders, and we always thought we are forward. And ngelixesha ngoku kulapho sicinga fanele si forward kakhulu, even nangemfundo ke ngoku, because we cannot move ngoku kugcwele ngapha koma Grahamstown, kugcwele sigcwele imifula yonke ngoku, and now simuva ngantoni ngama degrees, and ufumanisa into yobana bafike ngapha kwelicala la ngasempuma koloni, coming to trade and assess us and give us institutions of higher learning, dividing us with all the things that will make us think that we are better than our brothers. Sabangcono sathi civilized. So yiyo lento namhlanje sisizwe esibukela phansi abasekhaya abegazi lethu. yiyo le nto namhlanje ndisithi kubo xa ndobe ndithetha apha uthi ndaye ndabuya ndeze ekhaya ndiva the void within me ukuthi ndingumvenda mani wotafuna zothe nazvikakobe zvaudiba mbolo madhada lashango muhalindwane makutshiwo apha kum ndive kamandi to bridge the gap, which is what we need ukuthi sazane ngezithakazelo. Uyazi into yobana xa usiya kubatsonga uthi Jehova xikwembu xa yina batsonga mashangane yina botshaba kuchongola samunu swihluke shangungunyane. It speaks to the void that has been divided through the boundaries. So let us all rise.
We have run out of time. Why? Because we want you to engage at home even further. Continue the discussion, have them very openly like we have had here around this table. Is to never stop bringing these issues. As uncomfortable as they might seem, as controversial as they might seem as well, it does not matter, as long as the conversation is happening. We're very grateful. Viceroy Vul'Umlomo conversations on culture. They've happened today. It's not just a definition when you talk about culture. It's that lens that we use to navigate our way through society. And I think we've navigated our way very nicely here today. And I've got to thank you, Doc, for coming through. Thanks, Candice. Baba. Babkos. Mbos. Thank you so much. His Royal Highness, Prince Tumlengshana, thank you so much indeed as well. Like we say, keep the discussions going. And until next time, see you then.